Okay, here we go again. So I'm back in the builder factory here, ready to start building the main base, the mega base. And I planned out the science area, as you can see up here in my snip and sketch. But before I can build the science, I need to get electricity flowing, which means laying out that solar array, which I've got planned. And I have the station all built for that. I will need to actually start laying it out, so I will have the power to run the base as I start to build it. It's going to end up going up here somewhere. But before I can build that, the problem is that's a lot of rail to lay out. Even using bots, that means walking along and placing each segment of the rail and waiting for the bots to build it and so on. But there's a way around this. There is a mod that has been around since the first time I think I started playing Factorio. Maybe not quite that old, but anyways, it's 6-7 years old. It's called F.A.R.L, Fully Automated Rail Layer, and it is still working. So I'm going to build a F.A.R.L so that I can lay my rail out efficiently and quickly to get where I need to go. So we are going to need to have the F.A.R.L locomotive itself. We're going to need to have some cargo wagons that carry the materials to build my rail. And we're going to need to have a wagon to pick up stuff because the F.A.R.L will be picking up wood and stone and coal and anything else in the way. Plus it may be picking up other things if I have it set in maintenance mode. I do remember that. There's a maintenance mode where F.A.R.L will pick up the rail and the power and the signals as it goes, pick it up in front of it and lay it down properly behind it. So you can run a maintenance run that will set everything back up for you. But first, we need a F.A.R.L. Okay, so these are going to be very rare. So I only want to output one to the logistic network when I need one. So there's F.A.R.L. So we're going to enable, if there are none in the logistic network, we're going to put one out there. And it's only going to be one. I'm going to even force that. Builder will be building a F.A.R.L. I could build a F.A.R.L module and place it in an existing locomotive, but if you do that, I remember that I used to do that and I would lose track of which locomotives had the F.A.R.L. So we're going to use the F.A.R.L recipe, which gets us the appropriate graphics. And request our inputs. And I want one of them delivered to me, and just one, when it's ready. I have a whole bunch of things stacked up here. What was I building? I was logistics, power, radar. I had some modules available to me and some assembling machines. This is actually a pretty good layout for just stuff. Let's request in some cargo wagons because I need those. Yeah, let's pretty much leave this alone. I can please limit myself to one stack of steel, thank you. A lot of the other stuff here, while I'm waiting for things to trigger off, let's send back stuff I don't really need right now. What else have I got a bunch of coming in? We only need one stack of those, and let's limit ourselves to 3 stacks of bots and 1 stack of Logibots. We're not loading Logibots anywhere. pretty much all I want on me are enough things to lay out a blueprint, because now we're going to swing into mostly using bots to build from trains wherever possible. Which means I don't want a big stock of things in my inventory. And my layout here isn't terrifically organized. Let's reduce this to 100 rail. We're going to be using F.A.R.L to do our bulk rail, so let's not go wild. Make sure we have upper limits on these things. In cases where I'm picking up a bunch of stuff, I don't want to be accumulating. Now, if I'm actually picking up and putting down, I'll separate these two, so we have a minimum and a maximum that allows a little bit of headroom. But in most cases, one stack is enough. So at this point, I've got the F.A.R.L, obviously, and I've got cargo wagons, and I've got some various thingies. Oh, and we're not making modules. We're going to need to have some modules in the main base, unless I want to be, running modules from the other base up all the time. Let's make sure that these guys are set to make 100. And they are. And these modules are waiting for red circuits. They are building. And alas, what's happened here is that our main base, our builder base, is churning out stuff as fast as it can, and it's just not fast enough. This is why we build a Megabase. What are we building? It looks like we are still building solar. Well, that's good. Well, we are always going to be building solar from now on. So these machines are basically going to be sinking all of the available resources in the base. That's fine. At some point we may worry about not having enough resources to build bots because we're building too much solar. On the other hand, if we are still building solar, it means we desperately need solar. So here, I've come up here. What have I come up here for? To build a train station for a F.A.R.L. And I can put it just on top here. If I try to make it curly here, it's going to, if I try to make it here, this is kind of a hard intersection, so I will take it from here. Like that. And that's where our F.A.R.L station will be, somewhere along in here. And we need a... There. Now I'm going to go ahead and just align this like that. The F.A.R.L train is going to be very, very short. So I can go ahead and just align it on the same things as I already have. Let's turn off our request so we don't get a second F.A.R.L. So let's turn off personal logistics and place the F.A.R.L, and then I will remove the request. There's F.A.R.L. This is a different graphic. Classically, F.A.R.L had a very different locomotive look, and it looks like now this is just a recolored normal locomotive. Okay, well, we'll still be able to tell what it is because of the color. And what we want is 1, 4. 3 of these are going to, well, 2 or 3 of these will have rails and all the stuff we need to make this rail segment. It's going to be basically this segment here. I've been experimenting with F.A.R.L off camera, and I can't get F.A.R.L to connect up the circuits from the signals to the lamps. So I'm going to have to decide whether I want lamps at all in my long runs that F.A.R.L is going to place down, or what. So it would be nice to have the lamps connected to the signals so that I get a nice visible indication of what's going on with the signal. The signals aren't very bright in my eyes, but we're going to forego that. If I do put, well, the other problem is that F.A.R.L is going to place the signals in a way that's not rotationally symmetric about 180 degrees. It puts them parallel to each other. Oh well. So there's F.A.R.L. We need to have some power. Like that. Now the last car is going to be my junk car. There we go. So whatever ends up in the last car will just get tossed out. F.A.R.L will be placing things in that car. Now these guys, I am going to need, if you look at my math down here, I am going to need rails. So 30 stacks of rails. I am going to need 4 stacks of normal signals. And I'm going to need 4 stacks of lamps. This assumes I'm going to put in 2 lamps per signal. And I'm going to need big electric poles, 2 stacks of those. So there we go. Interesting. Is there some reason I am not having purple boxes placed? Let's request some in and see what's going on there. Oh, there they are. It just takes a long time. I keep forgetting how big the base is. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 things being requested in, and the rails, there's a whole lot of them. So let's just do that. If I had a lot of different things, for instance, if I wanted to put some chain signals in, F.A.R.L won't be putting in chain signals. I would have to put in some of those. If I had more than 6 things, I would be either using both sides to load, or I would be using the old long handle inserter trick. Oh, we need fuel too. Okay, so fuel and my normal load. Come on. Request in, and we're using rocket fuel in this base, which is here. Stacks of 10s. We're going to request in 30, so we can fill up the locomotives. Now, here is my load per cart. Well, let's start off with rail. And I'm going to have 3 boxes inserting rails, so it's 1,000 each. And now we need signals and lamps, which are going to be 200 each. And finally power poles, which are 100. My normal dogma for loading up trains is to put twice as much stuff in the requester chest as go in the train, but that's for when I have trains rolling through, or when I have something like this where maybe I want to be able to send several trains in a row on things that don't build too quickly. But in the case of F.A.R.L, when I come back, I will pick up a single load, and it's kind of a manual process to go out and do things. So now we wait for these guys to be supplied, and they should be on their way. Once everything's in place, we can start rolling out F.A.R.L. So the question now is, what do we want to configure him for? We are not going to be placing concrete or walls. We are not going to be placing anything fancy. We're not, for instance, putting in laser defenses around our rails and all of that. I've seen some really good blueprints from years ago that did that. If we hit water, I'm going to bridge it, but that would mean I would have to carry a landfill. And I think I can avoid landfill for now. Maintenance mode means that I can run this F.A.R.L over an existing rail, and it will lay it back out with whatever I'm doing. Let's turn on maintenance mode. So, notice here I've got nothing. The model for F.A.R.L is that you load blueprints into F.A.R.L, and then here you can store what is loaded into F.A.R.L into those slots. And I have had problems with this because I was confused, and it's all done. We aren't placing walls, we aren't placing ghosts, we aren't removing cliffs. Our distance between them is 14, as it turns out. So distance between rail signals is literally, if I had a rail signal here and a rail signal here, the distance between would be 0. And it's in the number of rails. Okay? So it needs to be 14 so that I have 14 empty rails and then signal, which adds up to 15, which is the difference between power poles. So I would really like to have my rail signals line up with my power poles. It's not clear to me whether F.A.R.L will do this for me or not properly. What I wanted was for the rail signals to line up with lamps and get connected like this, like I've done inside my base area. Outside the base, F.A.R.L isn't going to be hooking these up, so I am not even going to bother to do that. I will put lamps down, and the lamps are going to line up with the rail signals, so I will be able to run that out. But, you know, it is what it is. I want to run both wires, so my rail network will also be a backbone bus for any signals that I want to send around the entire Megabase. I will have to decide what the convention is there, but always sending both wires around seems to me to be a good idea. So let's review this. We're in maintenance mode. We are dropping wood or stone when full. That means that if F.A.R.L picks up wood or stone as I'm going along, if it has to tear down trees or rocks, it will just drop it there on the ground if it can't put it in its cart. That's good. Let's drop it when we're full. If this wagon becomes full, we'll just drop it on the ground. Otherwise, we're going to collect it and bring it back to the base, because we can use wood and stone. Maybe. You know, we might want some wooden boxes. We might even have some blueprints now and then that use the wooden power poles. Probably not, but maybe. So, down here, the read button, it used to be that this would look on your hotbar for a blueprint each of the diagonal and straight blueprints that it sets up. These days, it cannot read the blueprints off of the hotbar. So instead, what you do is you pick up the blueprint and you hit read with it, and it will do the right thing. So let's start off by building our normal blueprints. And F.A.R.L very much wants a blueprint for vertical and a blueprint for diagonal. Well, those are the stock ones that it sets up. And I don't like these. For example, because I'm not running with biters and because I'm good at rocking around properly, I'm not going to place down, well, wait a minute. Would it be useful to place down concrete and walls? And do I want to? F.A.R.L's default looks like, yes, it is. This is a left driving system, and you show with a chain signal the northbound line. So this northbound line with this chain signal is where F.A.R.L will be running. So if I were just to turn this on, it would screw up my right-hand driving system that I've been using. So I would have to rework this to put these signals on the outside. The chain signal will go over here, and the other signal will go over there. So then the question comes, do I want to lay down concrete and walls in my trains? And I think, at least for the initial go, I will not do that. So let's turn those off. So now we can pick up this blueprint. I will place down the revised one. Do the same thing here. Remove the concrete, remove the walls. Pick this guy up. Pick up the concrete. And there's our diagonal. So the problem now is these guys are in the wrong place. There. So now we're going the right direction. The other thing I want to do is place in lamps. I'll just place them where the signals used to be. That looks good. Come in here, select the new contents. Come in here and select the new contents. And now we can load them back into F.A.R.L. Read that blueprint, and that confirms what it is. And read this blueprint. See, save blueprint. And now we're mostly just waiting for F.A.R.L to be filled up. We can test F.A.R.L without waiting for it to be filled up. So I'm going to go out here near the end, and we're in maintenance mode, so F.A.R.L will start picking up things that it doesn't like, whether it wants to replace. And notice it says S, front, and P, so it's doing something. Okay. Out of red wire. So apparently I need to have wire in F.A.R.L. Well, I think, yes, there is, normally when you place blueprints, the wire is free. I think there is a place to put in here that wire needs to be free. It might be in the options. But the other thing I forgot was I do need to run both wires. Whoops, let's run this back into its station. In fact, let's set up a stop. Add wait condition, circuit condition. This will wait at this station, which I'm going to rename. This is called F.A.R.L. parking. There, and now we match the color. It's kind of a dingy color there. I'm going to change the color to a nice bright yellow. said bright yellow. I said bright yellow. How do I make this a nice fluorescent yellow? I guess you can't get any more yellow than that. That's good enough. I guess the train is always just a little bit dirty, a little bit dingy and dirty. That's fine. So distance between signals needs to be 14. And we are connecting both. Save settings. And the other settings I need to look at are in the mod settings. I remember there was a way to set F.A.R.L to use, there it is, free wires. There we go. Let's run another test. So if we start here, I'm going to go ahead and mark that for destruction, so my bots are going to go take care of that. I'm not entirely confident that F.A.R.L will run the wires if that's the only change in maintenance mode. I probably should have checked it. Anyway. So start. And run us forward. Okay, and it's set up. Both wires inbound. We can see those. It set up the lamps, but it did not connect the lamps to the signals. And the signals are right there where I expected them to be. And the second one, the signals are at the right distance. So from here, we could basically put ourselves in cruise mode. In theory, we could put this in cruise mode and let it run, and it would basically go forever. And we could have it run out to the left, put a bunch of landfill in it and a bunch of rails, and have it just keep going to the left forever, placing the occasional radar or whatever, and that would be a really neat way to explore. It would explore about a strip of about that width. I believe that is 1 radar wide. That's 2 radars wide. So it'd be a pretty narrow strip at that range. One could build a fleet of F.A.R.Ls where each F.A.R.L was putting down radars, and they would then explore around them. And maybe one F.A.R.L would be running, placing solar panels in between. I don't know. But that would be a neat way to explore forever out one direction until we, went to our train thingy and manually dealt with it. Oh, now that's interesting. It's telling us where these trains go. Oh. Okay. I haven't actually poked around. There's a mod I've got for showing trains. That may be part of that mod, or it may be part of the standard stuff. And if I arranged my F.A.R.L properly, I could make it go both directions. I would have to put this in the middle. I would have to have, say, 2 cargo wagons with stuff, the junk wagon, 2 more cargo wagons, another F.A.R.L. That might be more than I want to do for a F.A.R.L, but let's keep it simple for now. Okay, and we need to signal this guy up. There. So we can send him to F.A.R.L parking. So next question is, how far do I want to run F.A.R.L out before I turn him? And that depends on where we are going to be putting the solar builds. Now I do have a blueprint here that shows me the ultimate footprint of solar. And I would like to set it up so I'm not conflicting with anything at this size. This size is basically the station itself is going to be 10 solar placements. Solar, I call them a solar panel. It's got 100 actual solar panels in it. Those generate 6 megawatts, but 2 megawatts of that is reserved for charging the accumulators. So 4 megawatts by 10 long, and each one of those wings is 20 wide. So 10 by 20 is 200, by 2 is 400, by 4 megawatts is 1.6 gigawatts for this entire thing. That's about the energy I normally get from a nuclear installation, order of magnitude. So if we place it here, we can then head off to the left, and I believe we are just below the water up there, and we are just above the water down there. Let's center it between the two for funsies, and that's about where we want to start. And we can go all the way out to here before we have to start putting out massive amounts of landfill. And that sounds good to me. So I'm going to place it once about here. Now that's going to be invisible. What I really want to do now is, looky there, there's the remains of the old exploration area. Let's go in here. I'm going to add a tag on the map right here. Zoom all the way in. I'm going to add a tag somewhere here that says I am start solar field here. And the icon is going to be a solar panel. So we're headed up to there. We want to be coming in from the right, which means we need to be about here-ish. So we want to make our turn just before this coal. Yeah. We have resources all over this map, so I'm not going to be too worried about it. But if I can avoid them, I might as well. Which means we are almost there. We want to make our turn at about that blob. So we're actually getting pretty close. Let's go build it. I believe that F.A.R.L is loaded and ready to go. And we don't yet have all the rail we want. We've got almost 6,000 rail. Let's go ahead. So I believe it was this guy here. I'm going to need to design a turn. Let's go back here to make sure that F.A.R.L synchronizes with the existing power and signals. I don't know if that's still necessary, but let's do it. We start, and I'm going to do this manually. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lay out the rail with F.A.R.L, and I'm going to back off and manually construct the turn the way I want it. And we're in here somewhere. How about there? So we stop. So I want to treat this as a grid. So if I want to put it here, this is where I want F.A.R.L to pick up when it gets to this location. I want to still have the power here. And let's make the lights look at least a little bit cool. peel that back, so that's probably reasonable. Now if I make this turn to here, does that look good? I need it a little wider. Let's try making that a little bit wider. That's good. Now if I move this up and to the right purely, I'm not sure I can place this exactly. Okay, that works. And now we just need to hook up this guy. And green. There we go. Now we're going to have something like that up above. It's going to be the other way of the turn. And because F.A.R.L is not making this rotationally symmetric, I won't be able to just plop this down. But what I can do is take this much of it, start from here. I want to include the two power poles, like that. And now I just trim out the bits that F.A.R.L is going to be putting down that I don't like. From this one, this way, this will allow me to turn it. And I can create that blueprint and tuck it in over here and call this rail turn. And we will set that up with a nice little thing like that. And I'll put a 9.0 for a 90-degree turn. Save blueprint. And let's put that in our thing there. These guys, this is F.A.R.L diagonal. And this is F.A.R.L vertical. There. So that's now saved in my normal save. By habit, I put things in my blueprints instead of the game blueprints. I need to update the game blueprints at some point, because if I have to revert a save for any reason, I lose what's in game blueprints. And my blueprints I can carry back and forth to my testing world and so on, and it's all good. What happens if I put it out here? Start. Question is that going to hook everything back up? And it does. So we don't need to start behind the power. How high are we going here? We're going until we are parallel with this guy. Well, if we go too far, I can always just trim it and walk around to pick up things. Whee! I love Infinizoom. This is so much easier than laying down some rail and then waiting for my bots to put it in place and laying down some more rail and so on. So how much further are we going up? Right about here. So this guy. Oh, and I can see the station over here. So now all I need to do is make the proper turn so that F.A.R.L ends up on the same line as my build, but of course I can't see it from here. Can I grab that? Yes, I can. Okay, so that will be my lower rail here. So we can clear that out. Good enough. And we can clear down to there. I don't want to confuse F.A.R.L by having rail in place where it's not wanted. Let's just leave one little nub in there. Ho-ho, and I probably have marked a whole bunch of things for picking up that my robots are not going to want. So let's go in here and turn off the pickups. There we go. So there's where I want to make the turn. Run F.A.R.L up to it, bring it back, and then edit in the turn. That works. Start. So, would I be okay with moving my entire solar area up by that much? I think I would be okay with that. So let's trim that and put in my turn. And when I get up to the solar area, I will do whatever is necessary to make that work. Let's get this laid out. Let's plug that in there. So I'm going to need to pull up that existing plan because we are just a little offset. Oh, look at that, that still exists. And I do want to record horizontally where this is. Bots off. So if we put it from here, okay. So we're going to kill off all of that and then unkill things that I deleted. And now we place the footprint down again, but now aligned with where I want it. So it's there. And you notice this is still confusing and confused. Let's pull up all the ghosts that are to the north and south of me. Boom. Entity ghosts. And just in case, I'm going to pull up items on the ground and tile ghosts. Basically, that's anything to my south. And anything to the north of this station as well. Oh, I was holding down shift. Let's do this properly. Okay, so this still left me with a whole bunch of things that were marked for deletion, which I don't want. So let's do it again here. So shift cancels the deletes. So where we deleted stuff, we're going to not delete stuff. There. So that did leave us with some ghosts. This is fine. Okay. Let's go ahead and pull this up. Whoops. Do not build. Do not build. The builder train's going to have to... Oh, actually, no. I do need to build this. This is the first station, so I need to build this by hand. And this is solar build skeleton. Goes right here. And I do need to at least build the station by hand. So and this will get the layout I prefer for my civilized area rails, where they're offset and they've got the indicator and so on. Let's bring it out to there. Oh, let's bring it all the way out to here. I am likely out of materials at this point. And that's okay. As long as we have enough to get a train in here, we're good. And we'll have that in a moment. So turn off my personal build. I'm going to come back with some rail for the rest of this stuff. I will let F.A.R.L build this without ghosting it. Okay, and let's get that part of it set up. I don't think that the power from F.A.R.L is going to line up properly with these guys. The other thing is, yes, I put wires in my rail step. So if I do that, that'll place down the wires. It's going to be important that F.A.R.L isn't laying down the rails, isn't maintaining the rails through this area. So I will have to very carefully manage F.A.R.L as we approach. So if I've done this properly, yes, this indeed, at this point we do have, this locomotive does have this as a stop. So it's going to try to come up here as soon as it can, which is perfectly okay. So now we need to gently bring this into the station and be sure to turn off the build just before we join up. And I'll have to manually put in the rails and the power to get us there. Yeah, let's stop here. We were so close. So now we join this. And green. How much were we off by? Because we weren't building everything already on perfect grid, that is how far our grid was off, because we just kind of plopped the station. Oh, here's the builder. Now, I could sever this right now, and I could make my solar field precisely align on the original grid. And I think I'm going to do that, just because I am a complete nutcase. Which means I need to kill off everything. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and just run down here because clearly my attempt to clean out this stuff did not clean it out, and this would be a serious, serious problem. Oh. Robots. Robots, robots. Where are you? Yeah, apparently you can place a blueprint in the fog of war, but you can't pick up the blueprint ghosts from the fog of war, which means I'm going to literally have to run around the entire periphery of this station to get this right. But So let's set up one of these that is basically kill off everything but the trees and rocks. That's as much as I'm going to do with F.A.R.L for a while. So let's stop this recording. And when we come back, I will have gotten F.A.R.L sent back to the main base, and I will have cleaned up all of the ghosts that I laid down earlier. And my builder train will be servicing this solar panel array. Depending on how long it takes for me to get cleaned up, I may or may not have set up some solar build on this, although I may just wait on that. Don't know. Back in the next recording.